Hello, and welcome to episode 24 of Constructing Comics, a podcast building comic stories one page and one panel at a time. On this episode, we have an interview with Greg Schoen, creator of Raygun. Raygun is the story of Matthew Baker, who has lots of problems: a new school, bullies, and dealing with a father he barely knows. It's a lot for a 10-year-old to deal with, but when he stumbles upon Nikola Tesla's death ray, will it lead to his salvation or his destruction? This is Matt, and I'm joined by my pal Noah.
Hey there.
And also our special guest, Greg Schoen. Greg, why don't you lead us off with a little bit of background about yourself and your comic?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I love the show. Happy to be talking to you guys about the project. Like you said, Raygun is a story about Matthew Baker. He's a 10-year-old kid who discovers Nikola Tesla's fabled death ray and sets out on a journey of self-discovery that will change the world forever. That's the pitch. That's the log line. Raygun as a story, if you don't mind me telling you about kind of the genesis of it, it's kind of
Please
something
do.
to think about. Yeah. Basically, this is something that I started writing as a screenplay when I was in Vancouver almost 10 years ago. And I don't know what happened. I had just married my wife and we lived right beside a library, and I got on this Nikola Tesla kick. I just became fascinated with Tesla. And, I read multiple books on Tesla and I did as much research as I could. And, near the end of his life, he was kind of making these outlandish claims. I'm going to provide power to the world. I'm going to, I made a death ray that can shoot down a squadron of bombers. I'm going to end war.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew then there's a great story there. I just needed, what's the story though? The Raygun is a great, centerpiece for it, but what is the story? And I decided, who has it? And what would be interesting? And to me, the most interesting thing is give the gun to somebody you would never want to have that gun. And I couldn't think of anything better than a troubled 10-year-old boy. So I started writing the screenplay and I got about halfway through it. And it just occurred to me that this is a project that would never be made. As the story came along and I was writing it and I knew, generally what was happening, I also realized that the budget was going to be like, this is a $30 million movie. I'm a nobody. This is going nowhere.
Yeah.
And a key point about this too is, I'm 44 years old now. And when I was 25, I told myself by the time I was 30, I was going to be a published comic writer. And Raygun was released last week. So just
awesome.
a heads up on how long that can take. But so I stowed it. Life went on. I tried to work on a few comic projects, and as it's hard. It's hard to meet the right artist. It's hard to get your work recognized. I'd send pitches in and, deny. And then we moved to Japan, and I actually ended up reconnecting with an old friend of mine named Igor Corday, who I originally had met, 15 years ago at this point in Winnipeg, my hometown. And Igor at the time was living there while he was drawing the new X-Men written by Grant Morrison. And I had interviewed him originally for a internet site called silverbulletcomicbooks.com, which I don't think is around anymore. Anyway, Igor and I had become friends and we fell out of touch. And when we moved to Japan, I had noticed that he had put a comic online with Darko McCann called Texas Kid My Bro, and they had a comment section. So I wrote on the comic section, Igor, it's Greg, what's up, man? And so he was like, oh my God, I haven't talked to you for so long. So he's back in Croatia now, working for Delcor and other European publishers. But anyway, we started talking and he said, are you writing? Are you doing something? And at the time I was doing other things creatively. And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, well, do you have any ideas? And I said, I have this one idea called Raygun. And I explained exactly like I said to you, 10-year-old kid finds the gun, goes on a journey. He said, that's amazing, man. Just write it. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to write it. So I spent, 3 months, maybe more than 3 months actually, writing all 6 issues, which is typically how I write. I write an entire story. And I sent it to him. And, the guy's an amazing pro. He's, professor level of comic books, if you want to think about it like that. And he gave me, he's a harsh critic. I'll tell you that right away. He'll be like, this is garbage. This is good. This is garbage. So, I took his criticism, and he was right on. I made a few changes, and then I found my artist, Alonso Molina, who's an amazing artist. He's absolutely fantastic. And we started working on it. And it took from 2014 or 2013 when we started production. It's out, man, and I am so stoked. This is a dream come true for me from when I was 25 years old, saying, this is what I want to do. This is creatively what I want to happen, and now it's out there, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Do you have all 6 issues done? Or is
Yeah,
it just
the book that was released. It's by Arcana Studios. It was released last week in the United States. Contains all 6 issues.
Awesome.
The first 4 issues, I was using Alterna as a publisher, and they published the first 4 issues digitally. And then I ended my relationship with Alterna because I just was never happy with a digital release. To me, I'm old school or whatever, but I believe, a comic should be held. Those reveals should be, used correctly. And I just don't find I get the same feeling from a good comic by scrolling through a tablet or on a phone that I get from having a physical copy and actually turning a page and boom, seeing something.
Oh, I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah. So this is actually, I ended the relationship with Alterna, and we still had to do issues 5 and 6. And it's a lot of money. If you look at the artwork, it's even though it's black and white, that was a creative choice. We actually wanted it black and white, and the artwork is fantastic. We used Alonso Molina actually did the pencils and the final inks, and a guy named Paulo Rivera, he did the lettering and gray tones. And
Paulo Rivera did the
No,
lettering?
It's a different guy. These guys
Paulo
are from
Rivera. I was about to say. I was like,
both
you got him
Peruvian.
as a letterer? Okay.
No. Yeah, but both of these guys are from Peru, actually. But Alonso at the time was living in America. But anyway, so I was, it costs a lot of money to have a comic done at a certain level. And after issue 4, and I ended the relationship with Alterna, I thought, are we going to do this? This is what it is. And my wife is such a champ. She said, we're making this, and we're going to have this done, and we're going to find another publisher. It's amazing. We never had a bad review, and we're going to do it. We started, we're going to finish it. And God bless her, because we, I guess 2 years ago, had moved back to Vancouver, and I was working at the Art Institute of Vancouver. And just through a contact, I met Sean O'Reilly, who's the CEO of Arcana Studios. And Arcana Studios throughout the 90s and the early 2000s was a major, you can call them indie, but they're very prolific at publishing comic books, graphic novels, and that have slowly and surely moved into a really high-class animation studio. And I met Sean and had showed him the first 4 issues, and he said, yeah, we'll publish this. Like, wow. we want to do this, but you need to have a finished project. And then what we're going to do is we're going to publish it as a book, all 6 issues, the whole story. And then we're going to either produce it in-house as an animation series, or we're going to shop it to Netflix or Amazon or big studios. And we're going to see if we can get it made into a series or a movie. which is
awesome.
Which is their end game, to have the IP, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm just delighted that it's published, it's printed, people are buying it, and I'm just happy people can enjoy it how I set out to make it.
And you can tell your 30-year-old self that you did it. So
We did it. Yeah, man.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's sort of that Jack Kirby story where he did Fantastic Four #1 when he was in his 40s. So you have that.
Yep.
You have that to look at.
Yeah.
So how did you find Alfonso for your artist?
Alonso.
I'm sorry.
And that's okay. I think it was DeviantArt.
Okay.
Yeah, I went looking for an artist, and I had actually originally Igor Corday had recommended an artist from Croatia, and she actually did the first couple pages and then had to drop out because she said, you know what, this is so intensive. My style is very, I just can't imagine finishing this project. So then I found Alonso, and I knew he was the right guy when he said, send me a couple breakdowns of the characters and I'll send you sketches and let me know. And up until this point, like I had said, I've been doing comic writing. I'm that guy. I'm that guy. If you want to work in comics and you want to make comics, I'm with you. I've pitched so many series out there. I've worked with artists, getting 7 pages done. And like I said, every pitch that I do, I write the whole story. I write at least 4 or 6 issues because I like stories that begin and end. I can do a serial, but I had the experience working with artists where stuff doesn't gel sometimes. And he sent back the sketches of Matthew and David, and David is Matthew's father in the story, and they were who I had been imagining for years in my mind.
That's awesome.
And isn't it? And it was just okay, yeah, that's it. Let's do it. Take my money. Yeah. And we have a great relationship. Every page he would break down and send it to me. Is this what you're thinking? Is that what you're thinking? And 99% of the time I said, yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm very lucky on this, guys. Yeah.
And then Paulo knew him. Now Alfonso and Paulo, had they worked together prior to this project as well? Okay.
Yeah. They knew each other, and Alonso knew that he needed somebody to do the lettering, to get the pencils done on time, and then the gray tones. And in a black and white series, the page you're looking at right now, page 3 from issue 1, if you notice the top, the soldiers, or the mercenaries running through the Wardenclyffe research facility, those are gray tones, right? So you have the inks to add the depth. And then the gray tones are what's making all that shading kind of look so dynamic on the page.
Yeah, I love that. And I love also I can tell they've worked together before, because, normally in a comic, the lettering, good lettering doesn't stand out, and I can say that about this comic. Like, it doesn't stand out. It really blends well with Alfonso's style.
Yep.
It's really great to see this sort of synergy of these artists in play, and also the letters, like the thought balloons. There are several pages where they just flow perfectly around the artwork. It's like it's almost like it was the artist doing the lettering himself, especially on page 2, where the Nikola's dialogue is flowing around him in that top panel. I'm just really impressed by that.
Yeah,
I love it too.
Yeah, it's just a great team you got there.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very lucky.
Yeah. What were your comic inspirations when you were going for this? Like, this is a all ages comic. Were you looking at other all ages comics for inspiration? I know you did a deep dive into Tesla, but were there other comic influences that you were looking at script wise?
Nope.
When you're going into this? Nope.
When it comes to this, it's all my influences as a kid. So I'm I was very lucky to be raised in a time when movies were made for kids.
Yeah.
You know, we had Monster Squad, we had Space Camp, we had Cloak and Dagger, we had Flight of the Navigator, we had Goonies, we had Gremlins, we had all of these great things coming out specifically for kids, and the adults could enjoy them too, but it was in a kid's adventure. You know, it was really propelled. And when it comes to Raygun, the influences on Raygun are those movies. I wanted to be able to give this generation that. I want anybody to be able to pick it up, and I want men and women and kids of all ages to be able to read it and empathize with the characters. And that's why one thing about Raygun that I really tried to do was make everything real, everything possible, except for the Raygun. So by entrenching the Raygun in absolute reality, what I've done is made the Raygun that much more special, right? So and that's something that I noticed about the movies that have influenced me as kids, is that the world they live in is hyper realistic, and what is happening to them is very surreal. And the only way to get that dichotomy is to make everything, including situations and the people around the kid, absolutely real and play real, you know, come off as real people that have potentially you could meet any day.
So for your story process, did you have like the ending of issue 6 in mind, and you were working to it, or were you sort of working to an endpoint with each individual issue?
No, I had it all done. In my mind, it was. I knew where I wanted to go and how. You know, things change, of course, and you know when you're breaking down what's going to be in each issue. But I knew the beats, and I knew I wanted to get there. Raygun, I knew I knew the end of the story before I started writing. And that's generally what I do. Yeah.
And that's extremely helpful to sort of gear the story to get there.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, and is this your first published comic? And have you done any other web comics? Nothing like that?
Nope, this is it. This is the first one. Yeah, it's first one. And you know, I have more in me, but I couldn't be happier to have this as a first project out there. That's for sure.
That's great. Are you at the point where you're thinking about your next pitch?
Yeah, I'm currently working on my next series right now. You know, germination for ideas for me is weird. You know, probably you guys go through the same thing, but I have a million ideas, and each one seems like a home run until you start trying to, you know, put a little bit down on paper, and then it peters out, right? It's like, wow. Yeah. So you put it to the back, and then sometimes for me, I mean, the one I'm working on now, it's called The Thief, the Wizard, and the Warrior. It's the germination for this idea started, I don't know, 4 years ago. And then I tried to, you know, but how does that work? Okay. And then I tried to work on another series, and but elements of that series have come in, and it's crystallized to the point now where I know my story and I can put it down on paper. And I'm really excited about it. But, you know, right now, having a comic that just came out that people are, you know, enjoying is pretty damn nice.
That's got to be nice. That's got to be nice. Is it the same artist for the cover as is it Alfonso who did the cover as well, or is that
it is? Yeah, artist? No, it's the same. He did the color and the cover. There's a cover that's the one you're looking at right now is issue 2, but there is a cover out there where we had a guest colorist, and that's one of Matthew standing in what we call the suit in front of a character called Kurtz. And that's pretty fantastic. Yeah. But Alonso did all the covers. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you can also tell Alonso is an architect as well. He started as a comic artist, went to school, became a certified architect, and then has gone back to teaching art in Peru. His layouts and, you know, again, he could present that hyper reality we needed by, you know, things look real. You know, the buildings look real, everything's set up.
I'm amazed. Yeah. The
And
gas station on page 4 is what I'm most impressed by.
Yep.
Like, oh, look at that detail. So,
Yeah. And the thing is too, we used actual locations. We used only authentic quotes from Tesla. Government agencies I researched are used. Places in Afghanistan, the robotics that are used. There's a little bit of Edison in there. We do kind of dip into Edison and Tesla's rivalry a little bit. And I did the research.
I like that.
Everything that is told to Matthew is actual, and I'm hoping it comes off as that way, because then again, the Raygun seems that much more impressive, and what he can do is that much more inspiring and kind of awful too sometimes. Yeah.
And this place in California, do you have history with this location, or
no?
No.
I just wanted him from a small town, and I looked at a map, and actually I had put that he's outside of a bus station in the script, and Alonso Google mapped it, and he came back and he's like, "There's no bus station there, man." What do we do? What do we do? And I was like, "Oh, maybe there's a bus stop. They'll pick him up." And he's like, "Okay, we'll do that." Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Does he work traditionally, or does he work digitally?
Good question. He does the breakdowns in pencil, and I think he probably uses a tablet or a computer to do the actual work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it's very smooth, but in a good way. Like, it fits the story. Yeah. And so with your research into Tesla, what's your takeaway from him? Are you a fan, or do you have mixed feelings about him? Do you sort of see him as the greater inventor compared to Edison?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't hold anything against Edison. Edison was an amazing inventor, and even better, he was an amazing businessman.
Exactly.
He knew how to protect his property, and Tesla was. I feel very sad for Nikola Tesla, because his joy seems to have been from creation, and his mind worked in a way that probably only a few people on earth have ever had that capacity to do something like he did, and it destroyed him because he didn't care enough, or he didn't have the ability or aptitude to look at things from a business perspective. Really, he did not. As long as he was creating, he thought that he was going to continue. And I love his story, but his story does not end well. He married a pigeon pretty much, and he had all these quirks, and he was basically used as a sideshow for the papers before he died. Right.
That's sad.
But I think we do him well in this comic, and I do show that we respect what he did, especially in the later issues. The thing to remember about Tesla is Tesla's end goal was to provide power for free using the ionosphere to everybody in the world. That was his end goal. Was that's why he was always doing his work. Was he wanted to die knowing that he had provided power for the world. So that's something too to maybe remember when you read the story. There's a reason why the Raygun is here.
That's amazing. I'm liking all the layers that are coming out here. I have a question about page 1, and it shows up a little bit. But the tower in the background, was that written into the script to look like I'm trying to remember what it was called, but it was he had a device like that where it was circular.
No, that's Wardenclyffe.
Yeah, Wardenclyffe. That's an actual location.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so
and
great.
The actual date on the first page is when Wardenclyffe burned down.
Wow. And is this a conspiracy theory that it was the government that did it, or was it definitely the government that maybe burned it down?
No, there are conspiracy theories that it was burned down. It's probably just people weren't too careful with fire back then, I think, or something. I'm
Everything
pretty
was
sure.
burning down. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's straight from the script. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Love the detail.
So, do you have any thoughts on any like next steps, like a second volume as Matthew grows in age, or what? Or is this just the only time you're going to visit this idea?
No, I have it. The actual story is 2 more volumes.
Awesome.
And I wanted it to be the first 6 issues. The first volume is its own self-contained story. This is it. If this is it for Raygun, it ends on a very great note. But I have it planned for when Matthew is 17 up until he's 26.
Oh wow!
And he's 10 in this story. So there could be more, but we'll see. How it does, and I do get involved, and like I said, I will write a whole series to get something done, and that's a lot of time. So I know what can happen, but right now I'm kind of focusing on other things.
That's awesome.
And to not to get too much into the future ideas, but would there be other items from Tesla's inventory coming into play?
Tesla, no.
Oh, so there could be other inventions coming into play, is what you're saying.
In issue 1, they're alerted to the presence of the Raygun because Edison has put a secret room in the back of the Roosevelt room, and that's what alerts the American government to the presence of the gun.
Wow.
Cool. So there is other tech that they could reverse engineer. Not just the Raygun, but Edison has made technology as well that can sense the gun. So who knows? There could be a lot out there.
Oh, I like this. I like it a lot. So what's your advice for anyone out there who's looking to go after their passion project like this, and write it down? What would you say is your key piece of advice?
Be really passionate about the story you're working on. Why this story? Why? If you're passionate about it, you're going to spend the money, the time, and the effort to get it out there. And probably the best advice I ever got was from Igor Corday almost 15 years ago, when I was showing him my scripts and he was ripping them apart. And he said to me, Greg, just be patient. Be patient to get something out there into the public's hands. It takes a long time and a lot of skill and a lot of effort. And I know now that, those pitches that I was sending out 15 years ago weren't that good anymore. And at the time, I wanted to do it because I wanted to get published. I wanted to be a comic writer. And I think we could work through all the hardship to get Raygun out there, because I really love this story, and I really love Matthew, and I love David, and I love it when people talk to me about it after they've read it and they're like, geez, this was fantastic. And I don't think if I wasn't as passionate about the actual work, I could have hung in there, and hanging in there is something that I think a lot of people don't do. I think they give up. I think they want to do things for the wrong reasons. And the reason has to be you love comics and you want to make a good comic, and you will know when you have it. You will know because it's there all the time, and you don't mind talking about it. And it's even after however many years, you push and you pay, and you get a lot of negativity and bad things happen, and you just want it out there because it's a good piece of work, and it is, and you want to share it with the world. So don't give up. and love what you do, and you'll be able to do it. That would be my advice.
And I can definitely tell this is a story that you wanted to see told also, and
Yep.
that's a beautiful part of the creative process. So thank you for that. That's great advice.
Yeah, it's great to hear, because often I when I think about it, I feel like sometimes I feel like I should be further along than I am. But I know that I just have to keep working at it each day, little by little. So your advice is great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, just keep pushing, just keep doing your own work, and yeah, it'll happen. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, so why don't we bring this to a close? Noah, do you have any final thoughts or any questions?
No, I'm going to order the book and read all the way through it, because I have an all age comic book is something I've been really interested in, and this one seems like something really quality. That's of a lot of quality. So I'm excited to read the rest of it. I've only read the first couple of pages, but I'm excited to sit down and read the rest.
Yeah,
definitely email me or hit me up on Twitter, and let me know what you think. And
definitely. Yeah.
I second that. I'm in for this volume. Greg, are you going to do any shows or conventions in the U.S. to promote this? I know that's quite a journey for you, but
well, it's funny you say that. I know Arcana generally every year goes to San Diego Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm kind of talking to them about maybe going and helping them work the show and see if I can get on a few panels there, and help promote whatever I can do. But yeah, that's all I would be able to do at this point. Yeah.
Well, that'd be awesome.
You would certainly be doing the granddaddy of all the cons then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been, so I've heard it's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, Greg, if you would like to, do you want to list where people can find you on the web and on social media? And we'll be sure to link those in our show notes.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm on Twitter. It's Raygun at Gregory Schoen. Raygun Comic at Gregory Schoen. I'm also, around social media. I mean, Twitter's my main thing. It can be quite toxic, but I have a really good following, and I only follow people that are, cool to me as well. So I try to stay away from the weirdness. Other than that, I think you can order the book. It's been solicited in previews a couple months ago, but they might resolicit it in previews again, depending on sales.
Okay.
I know you can pick it up online if you just Google Raygun Comic Arcana Comics. There's a couple other vendors that are selling it. You can also, just email or order straight from Arcana Studios.
Okay.
And yeah, if anybody's out there listening and they want to connect on Twitter, connect with me. I'd be glad to talk to you about anything.
Yeah, and I would think anybody who has a local comic book shop, if they ask them to place an order for them, if they don't have any copies, I'm sure the shop would be.
They could find it. Yeah.
Yeah, be willing to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. I'd like to thank everybody for listening. If you could give us a rating and review on iTunes, that would be very helpful to help others find the show. And we will be posting show notes and images from Raygun on our social media. We are on Twitter at ConstructingCom Pod. We are on Instagram at Constructing Comics, and we are on Facebook at facebook.com/Constructing Comics. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening, and I'd also like to thank Greg for being our guest tonight. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you guys. Thank you very much.